The cell, better the box, was cooled down to the point that I was shaking most of the time. For the next 70 days, I wouldn't know the sweetness of sleeping. Interrogation 24 hours a day. I was living literally in terror.
There's no reason for Mohamedou to be in Guantanamo. Mohamedou has never been charged with a crime. He's been in Guantanamo now 14 years. It's not that they haven't found the evidence against him. There isn't any evidence against him. Mohamedou started writing in 2005. He had prepared 90 pages in a notebook that the guards had given him. That was the beginning of this manuscript.
For a number of years, his attorneys conduct litigation and negotiations to get that manuscript declassified.
Mohamedou is somewhat of a modern Renaissance man. He is from the country of Mauritania. He's from a very poor family, but he won a scholarship to study in Germany as a very young man.
Mohamedou had joined al-Qaeda in the early 1990s. Like many young men, he had gone to Afghanistan as a student to join the fight against the communist government of Afghanistan. And to join the fight, you had to train at an al-Qaeda camp, and he had trained and he had sworn loyalty to them. But as he's said repeatedly, he broke all ties after the communist government collapsed and the various Mujahideen factions started shooting each other. Mohamedou essentially said, "I'm out."
Mohamedou was at his mother's house in November of 2001, and he gets a call from the police to come and be interviewed. And he literally, I'm sure, told his mother, "I'll be right back." And he disappeared, and his family has never seen him again to this day.
There were 4 of them when I stepped outside the door with my mum and my aunt. Both kept their eyes staring at me. It is the taste of helplessness when you see your beloved fading away like a dream, and you cannot help him.
He realized he wasn't going home when he got on an airplane, was stripped of his clothes. In August of 2002, he landed in Cuba, in Guantanamo. His family, of course, had no idea what had happened to him.
And it was only when Yadi, Mohamedou's younger brother, who lives in Germany, picked up Der Spiegel and saw an article in October of 2002 that Mohamedou was in Guantanamo, did the family know where he had been held.
Einfach, wir waren alle sprachlos. Wie kann uns eine Regierung so lange lügen, und mit uns solche schmutzige Spiele machen? Wir waren alle enttäuscht von unserer Regierung. Komplett.
They were trying to frighten him so that he would tell them what they wanted to hear.
They would come to him essentially and say, "Well, we know what you did. We just need you to tell us.
We know you were involved in 9/11. We know you know these people."
And they were on this kind of endless fishing expedition.
And there was no truth to tell them. But that's what they kept saying.
I'm going to do everything I'm allowed to break you. You'll never see your family again. My answer was always, do what you got to do. I have done nothing. And as soon as I spit my words, he went wildly crazy, as if he wanted to devour me alive.
Mohamedou was subjected to a whole list of torture techniques that had been approved by the Secretary of Defense.
Die haben ihm gesagt, dass die meine Mutter aus Mauretanien importiert haben, geholt haben, und die befinden sich jetzt in einer Einzelhaftzelle in Guantanamo. Und wenn nicht die Beamten die Informationen gibt, was die von ihm erwarten, dann wird die in jedem, sage ich mal so, wie soll ich das erklären? Dann wird sie richtig gefoltert.
Significantly, they included what in Guantanamo was known as the frequent flyer program. And they called it that because they wouldn't let people sleep, and they proceeded to torture him.
Blindfold the motherfucker if he tries to look. One of them hit me hard across the face and quickly put the goggles on my eyes, earmuffs on my ears, and a small bag over my head. They tightened the chains around my ankles and my wrists. Afterwards, I started to bleed. I thought they were going to execute me.
Just as Mohamedou had this remarkable journey, his manuscript has a fairly remarkable journey. He writes it in 2005.
We would get the book in bits and pieces.
Wie der Buch geschrieben wurde, hat das als Tagebuch angefangen. Ich schätze mal, meine Schätzung, was ich auch von ihm verstanden habe.
Every utterance of a Guantanamo prisoner is deemed classified from the moment of its creation.
What you have to do is send it back to what's called a privilege team, and they read it and decide what can be made unclassified.
What I got in the summer of 2012 was the version of the manuscript that was cleared for public release, that had had these, layers of censorship grafted onto it. The physical impression of a page full of redactions is a brick wall. The amazing thing about Mohamedou and his writing is he has an incredibly strong, clear voice.
They brought me a chessboard so I could play against myself. When the guards noticed my chessboard, they all wanted to play me. And when they started to play me, they always won. The strongest among the guards taught me how to control the center. After that, the guards had no chance to defeat me.
He just hopes that someday he'll be released. He's in what I would consider a horrible legal limbo, and it's just tragic. He needs to go home. If he gets out, he could come live with me. I'd be happy to have Mohamedou in my house. He's just such a good, warm, caring human being, and somehow that strength keeps him going.
What's remarkable about Mohamedou's book is that we have a voice that's come out of this void, and that it's such a remarkable, humane, and I think ultimately forgiving voice. It's a wonder.
In diesem Fall hat das leider lange gedauert, aber wir haben und wir werden nie Hoffnung verlieren. Niemals. Wir haben immer Hoffnung, bis heute auch.
A Mauritanian folktale tells us about a rooster phobe who would almost lose his mind whenever he encountered a rooster. Why are you so afraid of the rooster? The psychiatrist asks him. The rooster thinks I'm corn. You're not corn. You're a very big man. Nobody can mistake you for a tiny ear of corn, the psychiatrist said. I know that, doctor, but the rooster doesn't. For years, I've been trying to convince the US government that I am not corn.